Lost Tales. There was a ruler of the earth, of great merit, who was renowned by the name of the glorious Toramana, by whom, through his heroism that was specially characterized by truthfulness, the earth was governed with justice. Of him, the fame of whose family has risen high, the son is he, of unequaled prowess, the lord of the earth, who is renowned under the name of Mihirakula, and who, himself unbroken, broke the power of Pasupati. A Tale of Mihirakula. One of the most important, Hephthalite or White Hun emperors, a great conqueror, but a short-tempered man with a contradictory character. Mihirakula or Mihirakula had empire, in the present-day territories of Afghanistan, Pakistan and northern and central India from 515 to 533 AD. How it all started. Predecessors of Mihirakula. As mentioned in Kalhana's Rajatarangini, Tunjina was the founder of the conquering Hun dynasty in India. In 475 AD, Tunjina quickly and successfully entered India, with his army and occupied the Punjab and even the northern part of the Ganges basin. In 484 AD, his son, Toramana, the energetic and talented Tagin or warlord, became the leader of the Hephthalites. Toramana was the first foreign ruler in India, who built up a vast empire from Central Asia to Central India. He appointed Indian princes to important posts, ensuring their loyalty. He tolerated and supported all the three religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism. After a long reign, Toramana died in 515 AD. Before his death, he declared his son, Mihirakula, his successor. About him. The reign of Mihirakula. Unfortunately, the crown prince did not inherit his father's patience and straightforwardness. However, he was an excellent military leader. He inherited from his father a vast country and he extended it with his campaigns to the south, as far as Indore, which is in the center of India, but the whole subcontinent, even the southern provinces, became his vassal. There are various literary sources, where we can find him mentioned. Here are the few noteworthy accounts shedding some light on him. Cosmas Indicopleustes. A Greek sailor missionary, called Cosmas Indicopleustes, who traveled to India in 530 AD, wrote about him in his book Christiana Topographia. He wrote, "India is ruled by the White Huns, under the leadership of King Gwalior, who goes to war with 2,000 elephants and a large cavalry. The whole country is under his command and he takes tributes from far regions." Xuanzang. Xuanzang or Zhuangzang, went to India 2 generations later of Mihirakula. He states that initially Mihirakula was interested in learning about Buddhism, and asked the monks to send him a teacher. But the monks insulted him, by recommending a servant of his own household for the purpose. This incident is said to have turned Mihirakula virulently anti-Buddhist. Zhuangzang states that he destroyed 1,600 monasteries in Gandhara, and had 9,000 men killed or sold into slavery on the banks of the Indus. His accounts are based on legends and are to some extent exaggerated. Kalhana's Rajatarangini. In Kalhana's Rajatarangini, Mihirakula is mentioned, although Kalhana does not mention him as a Hun, and places him nearly 1,200 years earlier. According to historical evidence, Mihirakula's predecessor was Toramana. Kalhana mentions a king called Toramana, but places him much later, in Book 3. According to Kalhana, Mihirakula was a cruel ruler who ordered killings of a large number of people, including children, women and elders. He invaded the Sinhala kingdom, present-day Sri Lanka, and replaced their king with a cruel man. As he passed through other kingdoms on his way back to Kashmir, the rulers of these kingdoms fled their capitals and returned only after he had gone away. On his return to Kashmir, he ordered killings of 100 elephants, who had been startled by the cries of a fallen elephant. Once, Mihirakula dreamt that a particular stone could be moved only by a chaste woman. He put this to test. The women who were unable to move the stone were killed, along with their husbands, sons, and brothers. He was supported by some immoral Brahmins. In his old age, the king committed self-immolation. According to the Rajatarangini, Mihirakula was a follower of Hinduism, primarily the Shiva branch of it. He built a temple called Mihirakula, in Kashmir, near Srinagar, for the worship of Shiva, and the sun god. Jaina Kuvalayamala. The 9th and 10th century Jaina texts describe Mihirakula as a wicked, oppressive tyrant, who was anti-Jaina. Puranas. According to Puranas, the Huns ruled 300 years altogether, primarily in Kashmir and in the greater part of the Punjab. And they had 11 rulers, including Tunjina, Toramana, and Mihirakula. Sung Yun. Mihirakula's contemporary, the Chinese pilgrim, Sung Yun, gives some information about the Hun king, and, although he does not draw a positive picture of him, his accounts are free of prejudice. Sung Yun arrived in Kashmir in about 520 AD and brought a letter from his master, the Chinese emperor, to the Hephthalite king. He mentions that it was a sign of the king's barbarous arrogance and self-conceit that he was seated while he listened to the Chinese emperor's letter of recommendation, while the other princes received the message of the Son of Heaven, the great emperor, with full honors, standing. The Chinese author added to his account, Kashmir remains under the power of barbarous people. The opinions of the Indian scholars are divided about Mihirakula, the great conqueror, but the enemy of Buddhism. It is said that while his father was accepted by the Indians, Mihirakula made the Hun a name dreaded and hated in India. At the same time, another Hun researcher pointed out that the Buddhist accounts are always one-sided and exaggerated, and the actions of Mihirakula were not as cruel as stated by the Rajatarangini and the 2 Chinese monks. How it ended. End of Mihirakula. Mihirakula was eventually opposed in the subcontinent by local rulers. He was defeated in 533 AD by Yasodharman, a tribal prince from western India. After defeat, he tried to consolidate his power in the east, but there, in the surroundings of Pataliputra, the present Patna, capital of Bihar state, he and his army suffered a crushing defeat from Baladitya, the king of the eastern province. Baladitya, the vassal of Mihirakula, did not want to pay the tribute to the Huns any longer. The Hun emperor became very angry and started out with his army to punish the eastern king. However, in the marshlands near the Bay of Bengal, Mihirakula lost many soldiers, while his enemy and his troops knew their native terrain well. Baladitya, a devout Buddhist, did not kill his enemy. The Hun emperor withdrew to Kashmir, after the defeat, because he had learned that his younger brother had occupied Shaikala, his northern capital. The Prince of Kashmir gave him asylum, but Mihirakula overthrew the prince with intrigues and took the throne. He could not enjoy his power for long, as he died of disease in 533 AD. Mihirakula coins. Mihirakula coins were found first in Bactria, the territory of the present Afghanistan, and in Kashmir and in different parts of India. On one of the coins found in Uzgan, the next inscription appears, most probably in their own language. Bogusahazuvolovo Miroziki, in translation, to the glorious king, Mihirakula of Zabul. On one side of his silver coins, the king's half-length portrait can be seen, with an inscription in the Persian language, and, on the reverse, appear the sun disk and the moon crescent. Sometimes the fire altar symbolizing the Mazda religion appears, on another occasion the bow and arrow or the trident, the symbol of Shiva, appear. Inscriptions of Mihirakula. The Gwalior Inscription. The inscription is on red sandstone, made during the reign of Mihirakula, most probably in 530 AD. It was engraved on a pillar of the temple, built for the worship of the sun god and Shiva, by Matraketu in Gwalior, a town in Madhya Pradesh, India. After mentioning the usual laudatory titles, the epigraph informs us about the exact date of the temple's erection, which was the 15th year of Mihirakula's reign. This means that Mihirakula ruled from 515 AD. The text of the inscription follows. Of him, the fame of whose family has risen high, the son of Toramana, the lord of the earth, who is renowned under the name Mihirakula, who unbrokenly worships Pasupati. The Mandsaur inscription. Its Sanskrit inscription, dated most probably 533 AD, discovered at an archaeological site at the village of Sonni, near Mandsaur, in Madhya Pradesh, India. It appeared only 3 years after the Gwalior inscription, and it informs us, in contrast to the announcement of Mihirakula's victory in Gwalior, about his defeat by Yasodharman, a tribal prince. The text follows. To the glory of Yasodharman, who occupied the earth from the river Baladitya up to the western ocean, and from the Himalayas up to the mount of Mahendra, who forced the famous Hun king, Mihirakula, to bend down his forehead, by the strength of Yasodharman's arm. Mihirakula's head had never previously been brought into humility in obedience to any other, save the god's Tanu. A great ruler, in terms of military conquests for the Hephthalite Empire. But a harsh and cruel ruler who was not loved at all by his subjects. Undeniably one of the important rulers of the Indo-Hun Empire. This was the tale of Mihirakula. Lost Tales.
Enjoyed the video? Like and give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And press the bell icon for latest updates.